Hi everyone. So in this video, we are going to cover an exploration of the Hubble CLI. So Hubble is the component which layers on top of Cilium to pull through interesting data such as network flow data, and we can dive into our application. I thought I'd actually start off just with the Hubble UI itself, just because I wanted to show you a visualization of the demo application that I'm going to use throughout this CLI demo. So this is our tenant jobs app. We can see it's made up of a number of microservices. We've got some traffic which are going to be dropped, some traffic which is going to be allowed, just so I can show you those different features of that CLI. We're going to spend the rest of the time in the terminal itself, but you can also get access to everything that I'm doing today by going to the Isovalent website, going to our labs page, just hover over there and view all labs. And the lab that I'm using for this today is the Isovalent Cilium Enterprise Connectivity Visibility Lab. Okay, so the first thing that we're actually going to look at here is we're going to do Hubble config view. And we can actually see that Hubble CLI uses a local config file, which contains all of these details here as well. We can see that the server I'm connecting to is the local host on this port, and that's actually described in our documentation as well about how to access that through port forward. And then we're actually connecting to a component called the Hubble relay, which allows us to have a central access point to all of the nodes that we can pull that data from as well. So I'm just going to go and clear that. The next command that I'm going to run is Hubble status. Hubble status allows us to see the data that's been brought in, and we have something which is called the ring buffer, and that shows the maximum amount of flows that have been brought in into the environment. We can see the Hubble nodes as well by running Hubble list nodes, and I can see that in my environment I have two nodes in my configuration that I'm connected to. So if I do kubectl get nodes, we'll see that those match my Kubernetes nodes inside of my cluster as well. Okay, so let's start to dive into things. So we can also get access to all the command line options by running Hubble help. And the one that we're interested in the most is we're going to be using the observe argument, which basically allows us to see the flows from that Hubble relay. So if I now clear that, and if I run Hubble help observe, and there's a lot of different flags that we can use to manipulate that data. So the first ones we're actually going to look at is some of these selector flags here. First and foremost, we've got the obvious one, which is to get all of the flows that are available in the buffer. We can actually command just showing us the first flows in the buffer with a number attached to that, or the last flows. We may use the F command or follow, which basically allows us to tail the flows as they come into the ring buffer as well as live in the system. We've also got two others, which is the since and the until command, and we can give a specific date or time format to that as well. When you're using the ring buffer with Hubble open source, you're going to find that maybe you get a couple of minutes data into that. You would typically use that select command when in combination with something like Hubble timescape, which is a Isovalent enterprise feature, and that gives us a historical data store of those Hubble flows as well. So if I clear this, let's have a look into my environment already. So I'm going to do Hubble observe first, and we can see lots of data being shown from our ring buffer, and this is across all of our namespaces. We can see where data is going to and from, the identity that's being given by Cilium for that as well, and that's important for later on the selectors, the direction of traffic, and the response to that as well. I can also further filter this with the n command or ---- namespace. And if I do tenant jobs, which is my demo application, we can just look at the flows for my demo application as well in that namespace. If I just clear that out and go look, so then we can add the last command on. I can say, show me the last 10, or I could show the first 10, or as I mentioned before, we could also just do a live follow as well, and this will start to show information as it comes into that ring buffer, so from that point in time that you run that command to the latest as well. Okay, so next if I go back to my Hubble observe, so we use the help command and then observe. We can actually do observe -h as well for the same information. So the next thing that we want to look at here is some of the filter flags. So we've got the ability to select the data that we're being shown as well. So we can either show data from all of a particular selector. So for example, maybe all data from a particular IP address, a particular namespace, a particular pod, a port, a service, or a protocol. Alternatively as well, we also have the ability to manipulate that to show all data that originates from a particular workflow. So again, from an identity, an IP address, a label, a port, a pod, or we can also do that for all flows that terminate at any given endpoint, IP address, pod as well. So typically, you will find for most of those selectors, they've got a select the whole identity itself, whether it's going to or from it, or you can just identify it going from or to that entity as well. Got a couple of other options in there, so we can get all data coming from a particular node name inside of my cluster. We've got an additional filter on top of there, which is the not filter as well. So we can filter data out that is returned to us as well. So let's have a look into some of those. So we're going to do Hubble observe, and then I'm going to do the namespace of my tenant jobs app, and we'll have a quick look at all of those again. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for a particular pod, and I'm just going to select this one here. So with the pod command, we actually need to give it the namespace first and foremost, thinking about it. So I'm just going to delete that because of the way that it's seen in the ring buffer. If I believe at the moment, I think there is a open issue in the open source for Hubble as well, to actually allow you to combine that with the -n argument per namespace as well. But now we can see all of those pods inside of my environment. Alternatively, one of the things that I can do inside of my environment is I can maybe use the label filter. So I'm going to go back to my tenant jobs here. I'm going to do -- label, and I'm going to do app crawler, which can show me basically the similar sort of information that we just saw before when I was looking for that particular pod. But one of the things that I could do as well in this, mentioned the not operator. So now anytime that you have this, for anything that comes after you've used -- not, it's going to exclude that from the environment. So now we can see a different set of information from that namespace because we've basically filtered out all of those crawler components. If I clear this again, and then the next command that I'm going to look at here is the verdict command. So if I do verdict dropped, we're going to see all of the dropped information in here. If I do Hubble, let's clear that actually to make it nicer again. So we're going to do Hubble observe -h. I'm going to do grep, and I'm just going to do verdict on this command as well. So we can see that we're looking for any policy verdict, and these are the available verdicts that we can filter on as well inside my environment. So next, what I want to look at is some of the more advanced kind of features that are capabilities that Hubble brings to the environment, some of my favorite as well. So I'm actually going to apply a DNS visibility policy. So again, if you want to learn a little bit more about that, please do use the Isovalent labs. So I'm going to apply that in the background as well. And I'm actually going to apply another one as well. It gives us the ability to see HTTP visibility inside of the environment as well. So essentially this identifies traffic to apply to ensure that it forces through our envi proxy so that we can see inside those data packets to then start to understand more information about what's going on. So with the Hubble observe command, again, I'm going to go back to that. I'm going to do n, and I'm going to do tenant jobs. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to specify the protocol command of DNS. And what we can actually see inside of my environment here is we can see the DNS results of where we're going to. So my actual crawler application is talking externally to the world, trying to get to the API of GitHub as well. And we're resolving that IP address using its FQDN. Now we can actually see DNS results as well. One of the things that I can also do, so I can actually do a to FQDN command. So I could do api.github.com. Sorry, I'll get rid of the namespace there because it's going to show me across everything inside the environment for this. So now we can see anything that's trying to talk to that particular FQDN as well. And also, again, we get that additional information to let us know whether the traffic's egress or ingress, whether it's loud, because it's TCP traffic as well. As we know, UDPs, we just send it out to the world and we hope it gets our TCP. We've actually got some sort of acknowledgements there as well. We actually see those TCP flags inside of that data. I'm just going to clear that up going forward. So one of the other policies that I applied was protocol visibility around HTTP traffic as well. So that actually gives us then the ability to do protocol HTTP as well. So when I do this now, one of the things that we'll see extra from what we saw earlier is things like my core API here talking to my Elasticsearch. We can see the HTTP, whether it's a request, whether it's a response. You can also see the method that was used, the DNS record that it goes to as well. We can actually see here, we can figure it out by looking at this HTTP path that is creating a file inside of my Elasticsearch as well for a new applicant inside of the environment. And that's really important. That's really good visibility data without having to install or modify my applications to return that data to me as well. For the response, I get additional data as well, such as the status code for that response and also the time that it took for that request to complete as well. So now we can actually do that with the protocol HTTP. If I go back to Hubble, observe, help, and we do a grep on HTTP, we can see that we've also got 3 other filters that are available to us as well. So I can actually just filter on things like HTTP status, path, or method as well. So if I go back to this command, I do HTTP method, and I can do put inside of there and see all of the puts that have gone in place, or I can see all of the gets. I can even combine that further. So if we do HTTP path, and if I do applicants, and I think the method here we're going to look for is a put, because we're creating that record in the applicant space as well. Did I spell that right? No, I did not. So we'll try that again. There we go. So with the right spelling, it's obviously going to return us data as well. So we can see all of the puts that have gone across into that particular HTTP path here inside of my environment. So I'm just going to clear that. And what I'm going to do is just round this off with a couple of modifiers of this data as well, in the ways that you can see this. If I go back to my Hubble observe-h, at the end of this configuration here, we can actually see, outside of modifying the data that's shown, we can actually change. There we go. We can actually change the formatting here as well. So one of the things that's missing is what node is information coming from. So I could run the print node name. That's going to tell me which Kubernetes node that particular workload is running on and where we get the data from into Hubble Relay. I can change the format of the output, and I can also turn off IP translation as well. So because we've got that FQDN information, I can actually change that back to the IP address that it's hitting as well if I wanted. So let's have a quick look at some of these. If we do -Hubble observe and I do O, so the default is our compact view. I can actually change that to table view. So as you can see here, we've got slightly different. We do lose the color formatting with that, however. Alternatively as well, we can also do this to JSON PB output. So at the moment, this output's a little bit more cluttered, but this actually leads me on to the final area that I wanted to cover, which is how do we actually export this data and use it elsewhere as well. So I'm just going to take a command that's a little bit more complex, and hopefully you can see here how we've built this up as well. So we can see I've got the observe command. I'm looking at my tenant jobs namespace. I'm looking for the label of app crawler. I'm going to output in that JSON PB format, and I also just want the last 10 flows. You can see how we can build up these filters inside of my environment. I'm going to output that into a flows.json file. And now if I cat that, it's going to look very similar to what I showed you before as well, with that concise JSON format here. But what I now have the ability to do with that is I can push that obviously into my other kind of like SIEM solutions if I wanted. Alternatively, I can lift and shift that file. And if I'm running Hubble anywhere else, I can actually read that file back into the Hubble command command as well. So I can continue to troubleshoot and observe that from another system, which may be not connected to this Kubernetes cluster as well. And we can just do that by running this simple command here. And again, we do with Hubble observe, takes that JSON file, converts it back into that compact format, and I can get it with all the coloring as well. And again, I can still add the same modifiers on top, but it's only going to modify from that data that's available in that file. So that was a really quick overview and walkthrough of the Hubble CLI. Again, if you want to kind of follow this along and get a little bit more in depth with it, then I recommend you go to our Isovalent website, to our labs page, and then you're looking for the Connectivity Visibility Lab. Thank you very much.